What's up there, workforce? Chris here.
Brian here.
And it is time to talk a little bit more about a subject I talked about yesterday around Google coming out with the Stadia. But I kind of want to talk with you, Brian, about what does that mean for Final Fantasy? What does that mean for MMOs?
I think essentially one of the things I've often thought of when it comes to games as a service, like MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV, 11, Division 2, like all of these games that require internet, that absolutely require that you be online. The question is then, how fast does the internet need to be in your area before it makes more financial sense to be doing that kind of gameplay where everything is obviously processed and rendered in the cloud as opposed to locally? When we're talking about streaming, when we're talking about hardware, when we're talking about game development specifically, I believe now, no matter what, we're going to get the idea where people are looking at how the internet exists worldwide today. There are areas like has Google Fiber, so when we talk about Stadia, I think we got to talk about Google Fiber being that they want to become not just a data company, but a service providing company where, you've got that gigabit and Ethernet up and down. You've got that action playing out to where the studies I've shown is Microsoft's trying to literally do it where all you need is 10 megabits a second to have that at their minimum level, because you got to have, this is how it works. Sorry,
That's how Netflix has an entire business model,
right,
assuming people have the level to stream a decent
the content
resolution.
Where game streaming and Netflix are different is that game streaming is just one way. I only have to tell you, here's the feed, right?
Sure.
I only have to give that to you. Where gaming is different is that I have to, here's the frame, I have to record your input, I have to, process that input. I have to then send you the updated frame. And all of that has to happen like at 60 seconds. I think it's somewhere around 20 megabits a second. You got to have that stable connection for that kind of happen to have a 60 frame a second, experience. And latency is something where, like you look at Apex Legends, like where if you are playing against somebody who's local and they have no latency, versus you end up having latency, they're going to win 99 times out of 100 in this case. But where this is from a development perspective, where MMOs could easily be going, where these games as a service games, hardware requirements would be nothing, because you never have to upgrade. Chris never has to upgrade. I never have to upgrade. You, viewer, never have to upgrade your physical hardware. And the developers could always, with every expansion, with
I don't
every
have to buy one.
Right.
Your PlayStation went down, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Independent, it wasn't caused by Anthem or anything, but your PlayStation is no longer working, right?
My PlayStation went down probably because of my kids doing what Anthem did, turning off the console. Like, okay,
but
on and off.
The Google Data Center.
Right. They can't, and it's and then also but again, constant internet connection, your game isn't interrupted. It's still there waiting for you in the cloud. I think when we talk about this, I think, again, we're talking 5 years from now. I look at this because you see Microsoft, you see EA, you see Sony. Now you're seeing Google coming into this playing field. As a company to make this level of investment, there is a market. There's a playing field. They see something in the technology and in the roadmap for this technology that we don't have that ability to see. And just them announcing this shows that it's a long-term thing, because nobody's going to go and spend and invest, I would assume, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into this kind of infrastructure if it's not planning to pay out, in a long term. It's not going to pay out today. It's not going to pay out tomorrow. People are going to wade into it, especially as the internet improves. But I think this is perfect for games as a service. What's up?
Because Google literally knows, they know how much bandwidth I use, because a huge portion of my bandwidth goes through Google, all of my searches, all of my YouTube views, right? So they know, even without being my internet provider, they know a fair bit about me as a consumer. They know that when I do my speed test, I do it through Google. You just type in speed test, it's right there. They literally know so much about how many consumers are available in a given region.
Yeah.
That are possible for this, and then based on your Google searches, how many of them might be interested in this? They literally have the information to make a very good guess at whether or not this is going to work.
Well, and beyond that, it's that you see that the investment in gaming, you see esports, you see gaming becoming even more and more popular within the mass culture. that it's just going to, I think it's just going to really explode. We're talking about like, when you see like, like streaming becoming like a career for certain people, you see the YouTube, the YouTube join in progress seems the most interesting to me. And when I saw that, I go, how amazing would it be to have that kind of integration with Final Fantasy XIV, where you could say Party Finder, just click the button and you're in. And that's where I'm getting at this. We're not talking about today. I know a lot of people, I want to think a 5-year plan in the future. Imagine what kind of integrations could exist within just streaming and YouTube alone when that kind of, they don't, Square Enix doesn't have to code and design for all of these different hardware aspects. They only have to design for one. But obviously the big question here is from competition. Microsoft's doing this, EA, Sony, now Google. I would venture to bet that we're going to see more. And I saw some people tweeting out like, oh, it worked real well for on live. Pretty much historical, when it comes to the first person to do something, isn't the person who's going to be doing it forever. They're the person who kind of says, hey, this can be done. Let's figure out how to make this more reality.
Not the first one here. We saw the most recent one was, I think, the Nexus thing, but like I don't know. There have been probably dozens of attempts at this, and being the first guy through the door, those guys have already taken the hit to the face. So it is possible.
They probably sold some of that technology. They figured some of this.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I hope they got paid if this is now successful. It'd be a bummer to be the guy that invented this technology and like was a huge founder, and then you're sitting there and you're going into retirement and you're like, I can't stop working because I didn't make any money at what I was doing.
Oh, you like the Stadia? Oh, you like xCloud? I made that possible. Why are you working at Walmart? Well, it's like, no, I'm totally with you.
No, I think that's great. The early things that I'm really excited about is like, for example, it's Wednesday when we're filming this, and on Wednesdays you and I play Xbox games with friends and family.
Yes.
Right. Just a close knit group. The group's been around. Gosh, it's been what, 6 years now, 7 years since we started making it a regular thing. The night of the week has moved, but right now we're playing Call of Duty, and Call of Duty updates ridiculously often. And the updates are huge. So you get home after this long day at work, you're like, oh, it's Wednesday, I get to play. You boot up your Xbox, you're like, sorry guys, I'm late. And then because you were late, it didn't auto update like it was supposed to. And now you've got who knows how long until you can go live. None of that happens with this kind of service.
Yeah. It's going to be...
It was handled on that end.
I don't know if Final Fantasy, it would take a lot of network and different infrastructure to change over the next 5 years. But if this ends up becoming the one console future, the cloud gaming console future, where this is probably not 5 years, but think 10 years, 20 years down the road, think of how like MMOs and different things like that would evolve. Imagine just a world in which that you exist, like you don't have to shut it down. It's just this, this world in which that you go into your browser and you get to experience, and based off of that, you end up having like these virtual worlds build upon themselves. And in the game of the service model, I think where I know a lot of players are frustrated because of how they naturally are, they go and what, kind of things that happen. I think when you're talking about that always online, I think we'll see more games go into that games as a service model. More games will make that approach. And then again, who knows, 30 or years or more down the road, there are probably going to be physical, consoles. I think everything is going to be, as a part of that, because at that point, like you would expect, like when we're talking about gigabit Ethernet now, it could be, tetrabit or whatever the next phase of it is, where we're talking about just insane, speed of light, connection speeds in which that everything is just, ready for you whenever you want. And then that's where I think that's where we see the service model with games and just this connection, because we don't know with Stadia, is there a monthly cost? Are they just doing it off your data? Like you can play these games, what kind of all these kind of games going into it. But when we first heard it, I go, holy crap, like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, any online 11 and 14, whatever, if they decide to do something next after this, that the fact
that they could partner with it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, they can easily
be built into your subscription. That this subscription has Stadia access, but not Xbox Cloud access, or whatever. They can have various partnerships where they give up a portion of their revenue to basically buy a bulk subscription on behalf of their number of players.
And obviously, like while the transition happens, and it's like, you know, again, I'm talking like 30 years before probably, you know, actual physical hardware local isn't, because you see Xbox still making that investment in you know, this really powerful device that they're talking about with you know, not Scorpio, but with forgot its code name, Anaconda. There we go. And so it's like with the this powerful home machine, but at some point when you don't have to worry about upgrades, when you don't have to worry about all of the stuff that comes with that experience, and if they can deliver that level of an experience like for you, no latency, like 4K, you don't have to worry about hardware anymore. Here are the games. You can just, they're ready for you whenever you want to sit down and play them. I think that's going to be an interesting
keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, like you can sit down, like, and that's where I can easily see like Stadia coming to Switch. I can see it coming to Xbox. I can see Xbox wanting to kind of partner with that if it's successful, right? You know, it's like all of these things, all of these are just business relationships in and of itself. But I think the MMO, what we love about like 14, I just think of fundamentally what kind of shifts literally would be made in the next 10 years, where if the bulk of the people are there, if the bulk of us are all just playing through that kind of system, what kind of integrations and what kind of changes you would see make overall. When we talk about patch updates and different cycles of this of that nature, like what does that world look like? You know, it's an exciting proposition, you know, especially as somebody who has like really good internet, like, you know, for both the down and the up. Obviously for like the world that doesn't have it, like they're going to be like, what's happening? But this isn't about trying to put that in their hands. This is about trying to put the fast internet there, and all of a sudden, like, imagine if you don't have good internet now and you're like, this is not going to be something I'm ever going to use, and all of a sudden in 5 years you're like, here's this wonderful world of cloud gaming, and that, you know, $200 PC rig of yours, you don't have to worry about keeping it up to date, where, you know, where we're beyond console walls and things that separate us. Yeah, exactly. It's
talking about people who have rigs that can play a game in 4K while streaming it out in 4K.
Yeah.
We were talking about people who sometimes run multiple machines doing it. And I mean, there is tons of money there. I mean, we talked to the Bonsai Bros recently about their initial investment into streaming. That is unnecessary if something like this had already been implemented and was already out there. What do you think? I mean, the first MMO to make the jump. So like, I think WoW's tied up in Activision. Activision is not going to want to give up control, even if Stadia becomes like a AWS of this space, where Stadia is just the back end. And so Battle.net client is actually what you stream through, but it's powered by Stadia. I still don't think Activision would give up that level of control. I think they'd be dumb enough to try to do this on their own. And
yeah, that or essentially they'd get acquired, or they'd partner with like Twitch. Let's say Stadia is a success, you're going to start to see kind of a bigger push and play for any kind of you know, any kind of content. Like, because when we talk about what this means for game streaming in and of itself, like YouTube versus Twitch, like Twitch is definitely way more, it's got the tools that are way better for gamers, and then you go look at the YouTube aspect of it, and it's definitely falling behind. Like, does this help push YouTube gaming to be more competitive? But that's the same kind of thing. Like, I could see Activision being like, let's go and make our own cloud, right? Because you have Battle.net, right? It just makes sense. Yeah. Or is it something to where, like, well, morale's at all-time low, maybe somebody tries to acquire them, and like, let's say Twitch or Amazon, who has a cloud service, decides also to enter the ring, and thus you see these two titans start to battle it out. And Amazon bought some game studios back in the day. So
Twitch is honestly getting to the capabilities where it may be a competitor with this. The way they support games and things like this, the way Amazon does things, it wouldn't shock me if in the background they're trying to make Twitch into this very same product coming from the other direction.
Right.
Stream first and build the games in from the back.
Yeah, and so that's where, I mean, both approaches are correct. You can start, they already sell games, and it's just a matter of how do you get and you make these different environments work well. And so it's going to be an insane future. I think essentially when we look back at this video in 5 years, it's going, you know, we're going to have the next generation consoles out there. We're going to see cloud streaming more prevalent. You're going to see Microsoft on Switch. I'm betting we're going to see PlayStation Now on Switch, because at some point you're like, why are these games available and I want to play these other games and I can't? And I would, but if Nintendo obviously doesn't seem to be resistant to having, you know, like, yeah, go play your Xbox games on your Switch. Sure, achievements unlocked, go for it. The thing that for me that got me really excited and just interested in the overall topic was when Microsoft and EA at E3 last year announced that this is something they're working on. And I go, wow. And now, so when Google announces it, I'm not surprised. I am intrigued because we don't know much. We know it's launching this year. We know xCloud's launching this year. We haven't heard much more about what EA is doing.
E3 makes total sense for it to be an announcement there. Maybe it's not, but
maybe. We'll have to wait and see.
So for 14, does this mean anything for Shadowbringers?
No, nothing for Shadowbringers. Nothing for probably even. I mean, when we talk about Shadowbringers, does it mean something maybe come 5.5, where it's like, hey, it's been 2 years. This is definitely an established thing. I would hope so.
System announcement equivalent is okay at 5.57.
We're gonna have these kind of integrations if you're playing on Stadia. It's like, and here's how this is all integrated, because there's no real investment for Square Enix to make that play yet into the space unless they're getting paid or reimbursed for that level of development. So that would be a matter of if Google is like, and when you think about it, when you look at the YouTube and the algorithm and the data they have, they just like how Stranger Things came into being, like they're analyzing the data and they're seeing like what are people like interested in. If they have that, they know Battle Royale, like Battle Royale apps, you're going to see Fortnite, you're going to see these really popular games to start to try and draw in that audience, because they can really tie that into the YouTube gaming aspect as a whole. And I think that's their priority list. So if Shadowbringers is real high up there, you could venture to bet that that's going to be something that they were going to want to prioritize. But I don't think from Square Enix perspective, like there's not, like unless there's like, oh my gosh, like we've now, taken in another 1 million subscribers. Like, why are we going to make that investment unless there's some kind of like, little help funding from development from Google to say, hey, can you integrate this game when playing on Stadia to add in party, like this join in progress and different things like that.
But PlayStation already won't let Square take 14 to the Xbox. That's what we assume,
but
right?
Stadia is still PC gaming.
So if Stadia is allowed within that PlayStation agreement, they could go to Stadia, and then if Stadia runs on your Switch and Stadia runs on your Xbox, then
that's where one of the things I've said, where for 14 for Switch, I say if it's on Xbox, xCloud on Switch, there you go. Like it doesn't matter. Like at that point, it doesn't matter. Should I buy a game that's on Switch and Xbox where I just honestly would say that it's just a matter of time. No, I'm going to get it on Xbox because I'll stream it to my Switch. It's not that, not that critical. And if the connection and the quality is great, I'm all for it. Chris, you got any final thoughts regarding the impact?
No, I thought it was really exciting. The first thing I thought about is how does it affect the games I play, and the games I play as MMOs. And so I think it's a really exciting moment long term that results in no immediate action.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm a day one adopter. I'm probably a day one demo guy.
What if it's free? I mean, what if it's free?
Guy.
Like obviously we don't have the controller, but like the fact that it's just literally hooked up here. Like,
it's exciting because it puts Xbox on their toes. And so imagine if all of Game Pass comes to the Xbox equivalent of this, because they're afraid of missing out to Google. Like it makes Xbox's presentation at E3 that much higher stakes, and that's very exciting for me.
Why go with xCloud? Why go with xCloud over Stadia, especially from a streaming perspective?
But long term, the idea that I could, if I want to go spend a week at my brother-in-law's and I have a job that allows me to do that, and I want to check in with Brian because a patch goes live, the idea that I could just hop on literally any internet connected device, hook up a keyboard and a mouse to it, and I'm off to the races.
Yeah. It's gonna be a crazy future. I think that's one of the things I'm really most like, and if it fails, you know what? I don't want to have any investment in Google. It doesn't hurt me. Like, well, that didn't work, but and whatever doesn't work, hopefully people learn lessons and figure out what does. And the fact that there's so many people competing for the space, it tells me that this is something that's going to be important. And so it's not something that I think is going to get a lot of traction, when it launches. I think it's going to be something that, like, all of a sudden 10 years from now, everybody's like, oh, why are you playing on a physical console?
Like Redbox giving way to Netflix, and you're like, well, that was a big moment. Like, I didn't at the time. I was like, man, what is that? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that totally changed an industry.
Totally changed it. All right, for Work To Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Let us know what you're thinking in the comments below, what you think of the impact that these kind of cloud services and Stadia in general can have on Final Fantasy XIV. But We wish you guys a great day.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care. Hey guys, it's me, Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we hope you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. We talk a lot about video games, and we hope to at least hear from you in the comments below. We also try to respond to our comments. You know, we really appreciate the comments, the discussion, all the various points of view that everybody is so kindly, I guess, and politely or impolitely shares with us from time to time. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching this video. We hope you hit that like button. We hope you hit that subscribe button. Come back for more content each and every day. We post a lot around here, and we'd love to hear from you about what you like about video games and everything, and especially if you have any questions that you're stuck on in anything. So anyway, signing off. See you next time.